Hello guys, once again it's Matt and today we have another video. Thank you all the members of the Patreons, make sure to subscribe and let's get into it guys. So we are flying out a little bit of the F-16D over here in just a custom battle, just while we talk about it. So it's kind of a weird subject that I wanted to talk a little bit about it, but if you don't know, in the English dev stream that I couldn't actually cover because the dev was already opened when the dev stream was like finish it, they basically confirmed that they are considering the Python 4 for this aircraft, for the MatAWG 2, right? But here we have a problem, right? This aircraft is kind of an odd option to be added right now. Don't get me wrong, I really do think the Israelis need something, but I just think that this choice was kind of weird, on the very least. You know, it's a country that relies mainly, you know, even though yes, it has an F4 there on the lower BRs that has some form of BVR, but it's very limited. The Kurna 2000, the Nets, nobody has BVR. And although it's not a big deal maybe for the majority of the players, it should be something that it needs to be corrected, right? This is, I think, the main problem with the Israeli Tech tree in the top tiers. And then, yes, they are adding a new F-16. An F-16 that is very interesting, very different, and very cool as well at the same time. But it doesn't solve the main problem of that nation yet. It doesn't bring the Sparrow to the table. Why? Because technically this version, even though in theory it could use it, it never did use the Sparrow. And apparently, it never did use the Python 3 as well, apparently. I couldn't confirm that, but some people were saying that as well. Which means that this aircraft is kind of limited on its air-to-air capabilities. Only in, being able to actually use the AIM-9Ls. Because they didn't use the AIM-9M as well, they didn't use the Sparrow, and they didn't use in this aircraft the Python 3. So the only option to be a better aircraft, you know, as an air-to-air combat machine, would be to add the Python 4 that actually was used in this aircraft. And also, of course, the AIM-120. But, of course, we're not ready for the AIM-120 yet, apparently, so that will have to wait a little bit. But the Python 4, I mean, is it possible or not? I don't know, it's kind of weird. So, the first thing that we need to talk about is, with this in mind, is that I don't think this vehicle was actually meant to be an air-to-air aircraft in the Israeli tech tree. It was actually, I mean, it is being added in the attacker line with the Nasher, for example, which means that they are considering this aircraft not as a viable air-to-air capable aircraft, even though yes, he can do that with the AIM-9Ls, they are still very good missiles. But the main objective of this aircraft is to be a CAS aircraft, a new CAS aircraft for the Israelis, one that will bring the Israelis to the table of being one of the best nations in CAS options in top tier, right? So with that out of the way, with that in mind, you know, you have to consider that maybe they weren't actually choosing to fix the problem of the BVR or the fighter problem on the Israeli side. Maybe this is another type of addition, and what they are currently working on to actually fix the BVR problem or the fighter problem in the Israeli tech tree is going to come in another patch. This is where I think this stays, you know. But even with that, a lot of people were wondering, first of all, because Mike said, he confirmed that in the devs stream, right, that they are considering the Python 4. So could that be a stopgap added right now, maybe to actually help this aircraft to fill this kind of hole that the Nets and stuff have? You know, could this be a thing, you know? A lot of people are wondering about it. And, well, first things first, I don't think so. The Python 4 is a 90s missile. Yes, the development started in very early, late 80s, right? And continued throughout the 90s. But the missile was actually introduced in the mid-90s, right? 94, 95, something like that. Around the same time as other missiles, such as the R-73M, were being developed and shortly afterwards being deployed, and even a little bit more. Of course, it's a bigger time frame. The AIM-9X as well. Is time frame that important? No, it's not, but the performance is actually according to those missiles as well. So the Python 4 is a missile that wouldn't be, and my god, a bot just killed me with an R3S, but the Python 4 wouldn't be a counter to the R73. It would actually be a counter to something like the R73M and in the game, you know. Or if it's added right now, yes, the Russians would be okay. People say that it has around 45, 50 Gs of single plane turning capability. So, I mean, it's just a little bit better than the R73, right? It's not that different. But then you consider the other nations, the US, Germany. I mean, Germany can have the R73 and I guess the Chinese as well in the future, but everybody else uses AIM-9s or some form of missile similar to an AIM-9. So everybody would be on the back foot, and instead of actually fixing the problem with balance with the R73 being added, you would create another one that not even the R73 could balance it out. And the Americans and other countries, even with the AIM-9M, the most advanced version from the 90s of it, it would still lack a lot on the performance. So in my opinion, I don't think it should be added. So what does that mean? What we can have that would fix the problem? Well, there isn't much to be added. They either just take this as or we as a community just take this as a not fighter or a not BVR fighter, an aircraft that it was added right now to be a ground striker, or we accept, and Gaijin accepts, the possibility of adding things that are not entirely historical accurate, right? So maybe a Python 3 to it, maybe a Sparrow to it, even though you cannot use it, they didn't use it. A lot of people are claiming that it could in theory use it, they just didn't use it, and it would fall in the same category as the MiG-29 912 for the Germans, right? They never used the R-27T, they never used the R-27ER, but in the game we have those missiles because that aircraft could use it. So if that's the case of these F-16 that was able to actually carry the Sparrows, for example, and the Python 3s and stuff, but it just didn't in its service, it just means that it's just the same kind of principle as the German MiG. Still can be added. So we have these two options. I don't know what's better. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, and I see you guys on the next one. Bye, guys.